Hey, and welcome to the Shay Speaks podcast, where real talk meets inspiration and good vibes. Listen, I'll be bringing you unfiltered conversations about life, growth, and everything in between. So if you're here for some inspiration, empowerment, and some thought provoking gems, baby, you're in the right place. Let's dive into today's episode. Okay, so we're going to get right to it. So today's episode is going to be overcoming imposter syndrome. So, this is actually a topic that I can relate to. I never knew that I had imposter syndrome or what it was or like how to even identify it or anything, right? It was just like one day I asked myself, because I'm the type of person, I will go to school, I will learn something new, I will I'll enroll in school, baby. Basically, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't mind learning a new trade, learning a new thing. Like, I'm very hands on. I learn quickly. And so I would find myself in a pattern of enrolling into a new program, completing the program, but not really putting forth the effort to, like, pursue that thing, like, after I got done with it. So, on my journey in healing, which you guys are learning more about, as we go throughout our journey here on the Shay Speaks podcast. But the more I was on my journey to healing, the more I started to understand myself and understand why I did those things. And imposter syndrome is oftentimes rooted in trauma. And it's a trauma response of feeling like you have to like you hold yourself to this like high standard, and it's very unreasonable. So whenever you go to approach your goals, you end up feeling overwhelmed, and it's like a cycle. So it's like you set the standard high, you do well, you excel, but then you got the standard so high that you can't even achieve it because it's irrational. So I was in that common loop of that. So I'm like, okay, what's going on here? And so I am very connected with myself, and I learn more about myself each day. But what I did learn is that imposter syndrome, it was what I was facing. So I got some notes here just to help people on track, because what y'all will learn about me, baby, I will talk. That's why it's unfiltered, it's raw, and I'm gonna give it to you just like it is. But got some notes just so I can stay on topic here. So first and foremost, you belong here. Like, take up space in your everyday life. Everything you do, you belong there. You're not a character in your life. You're the main character. Everybody else is an extra. But you're the main character. So you have to live your life like that. That has nothing to do with arrogance or being cocky or any of those things. This is my life. Nobody's coming to save me. I have to save myself. So in order to do that, I have to learn myself, and I have to know that, first of all, you gotta start healing your trauma. There's no way around it. You have to go back to the root of what made you that way, made you feel like you had to be overly excelling at something. So you got to go back to that, and that's what I did. And so, hindsight is 2020, but when you're in it, you don't realize that that's what you're doing. Like, it's really a level up in the mindset. It's like one day you've done all this conscious and subconscious work that it's like a light switch that goes on, and once it's on, it's on. You can't flip it off. So it's like you start seeing things from a different perspective. And that's pretty much what happened. Like, that's pretty much how I knew I had imposter syndrome and how I'm working to overcome that. Me starting this podcast is a true testament to me overcoming my imposter syndrome, because me doing something like this is definitely, I've always been able to speak. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm always that friend that, your friends call when they need some good advice, or when they just need to be nurtured, or when they, I've always been that friend. So I've always been it to other people, but to myself, it was not. So this is your sign right here. Listen, give yourself the same advice that you give your friends and your loved ones. Live up to what you tell them. You tell them to give themselves grace. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like live up to what you're putting out. Don't put so much pressure on yourself. A lot of people struggle with it and they don't talk about it because they don't know how. Like first of all, you have to identify it, and that's a whole journey in itself. How do I overcome, like it's a new challenge. You've never done this before, right? Like this is the first time that you've done this. And so the whole premise of overcoming imposter syndrome is that you have to learn yourself. Like you have to learn the ugly parts. You have to go back to that trauma. And you have to heal that, deal with that, cope with that. Because if you don't, you'll never overcome your imposter syndrome. It's, you know. So let me give you like a definition, like a textbook definition of imposter syndrome. Imposter syndrome is the internal experience of doubting one's ability, accomplishments, or worthiness, despite evidence of success. So you know you could be successful, but you're not putting yourself in the position, despite you having that passion, despite you excelling, despite you loving what it is that you do. You know you have it. You're just scared to show it for real. And you set the bar so high and you nitpick on the small things. And so you psych yourself out of not pushing through with it. People experiencing imposter syndrome often feel like frauds, attributing their achievements to luck, timing, and external factors rather than your own skill or efforts, which leads to doubt, fear, or the feeling of being unqualified. Telling you that's why this is episode 1, because this hits home for me. And I've always been that girl, and will forever be that girl. So I'm just now living like I am. And what you got to know too is that you're that girl or you're that guy. You're really it. You're really it. And you just have to live like that. You really have to focus on yourself. You have to learn yourself. You have to love yourself. Like truly and deeply. You have to figure out who you are outside of a relationship, outside of being a mom, outside of being a dad, outside of a job. You have to figure out who you are in your core. You got to. And once you figure that out and you realize you're really one of the ones, you'll stop playing with your potential because that's where I'm at. Listen, perfectionism, fear of failure, downplaying your achievements, really those are the biggest things. Like those are the biggest key points. When you really sit down and think about what's going on, that's what it is. Like that's what you're doing. And those are the signs of how they show up. And you have to learn how to show up for yourself for real, like deeply. And these things will come to a head. And once that light switch is on, you can't live like that. You just can't. Like, or you're going to be extremely uncomfortable. Extremely. I mean it when I say it. Because growth is uncomfortable. If you think about anything that's growing, like if you're a woman, if you've ever been pregnant, that's uncomfortable. It's a beautiful thing, but you start to get uncomfortable at a certain. You have to give birth to what has grown inside of you because if you don't, that's a problem, right? You already at the point to where it's time to change your whole entire life. So change it. Do the thing. Say the thing. Go the place. Yeah, do it. Because if you don't, you will forever regret it. You'll live in regret for the rest of your days if you don't push forward. So why not push forward? I'm not going to sit around and be uncomfortable just because it's familiar. Forget that. We're going to new places. We're going to higher heights. It's time. It's time. It's time. And so I just want to highlight a few more things that you could be possibly experiencing if you have imposter syndrome. Listen, um, overworking yourself, trying to compensate by working harder than everybody else. Like, it's the hustle culture for me. That's not living. I 100% understand we can't do anything without money anywhere. In America, it takes a lot more, right? Like, to get to it. But if you living in your purpose and you doing what you love, the money's gonna come. Money is a frequency. And that's what I've learned. It's a frequency. Like, you have to get on the frequency with money. Yeah, you gotta vibe. You gotta vibe with money. You gotta vibe on that frequency. So if you're not, you're gonna forever struggle. Yeah, you gotta speak a certain way. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to really, really change your life, change your mental, change your mindset, the way you speak, what you listen to, change your diet. A diet isn't necessarily only speaking in terms of what you eat by mouth. It's about what you listen to, what you're watching, who you around, what you're doing, what your environment is like. That's your diet. That really is. And so if you're consuming negativity all day through your music, through your social media, through the shows you watch, that is going to be the frequency that you're on. You have to vibe on the frequency of what you want. It attracts things. So you really have to be really just listen. I'm talking to a couple chosen ones. Like, I'm not even gonna lie to you. Like, I am talking to the chosen one because I'm one of those ones. I'm talking to you. Everybody not gonna see it how you see it. Everybody not gonna feel you how you feel you because you feel really deeply. You feel what I'm saying? You feel deeply. And people will tell you that you overreacting. People will tell you, oh, it ain't that serious, it ain't that deep. Those people you need to stay away from. Because everything is that deep to you. This is your experience. And so that's really why my circle is this big. Super tight. Because it's about energy. It has nothing to do with, oh, I don't like you. We fell out. I don't talk to you anymore. It doesn't have anything to do with that. It has everything to do with frequencies, and people are on their own separate journeys in life. So it's just like you have to sincerely wish people well and allow them to live their life. And if you cross paths again, that's where y'all belong. So it's like you really have to be selfish. I know in our society, looked at as being selfish is negative. And I guess it could be negative, but like if your entire existence you were a people pleaser, which made you um, have imposter syndrome, right? Because you had to work really hard to somebody else's standards that really weren't that obtainable, but you did your best to obtain it. Like, it's a whole cycle. You don't think like the people who are leeches. You're not the type of person. You think like a person who, you know, overshared, overgave, overcompensated your whole life. So now you're in the point of your life. I don't like to say, oh, I'm in a soft girl era or I'm in a villain era. It's not an era. Like, once I make that change, from this point on, this will be the change until I wanted to. The era will last as long as I need it to. So at this point in my life and at this point in your life, you have to decide, what am I going to do? Do I want to keep going to my 9 to 5 that I really low key hate, but it pays the bills? Manager kind of get on my nerves, but it pays the bills. I don't really like doing the work, but it pays the bills. Are you going to keep doing that? Or are you going to do that while you work on something that's going to get you to higher heights? And so that's the point, and that's where I am today. And that's why you see me on your screen or you hear me through your speakers, because that's where I am and that's where you are. And that's why you're seeing this. This is for you. This is for you. So just tapping back into the topic altogether, um, your upbringing can definitely play a huge role in family dynamics, having high expectations or comparison to your siblings or cousins or whatever. Societal pressures, expectations to be perfect or successful, especially in today's media age. Everybody is on a get rich quick scheme, or, you know, they live their whole life out on social media and they're showing you the highlights of their life. They're not showing what they're really going through. They're not. They don't want you to know that, they're really going through something. So you feel like you're behind. You're not. It's called divine timing. Divine timing. You can't be late. You're on your own journey. You're in your own lane. There's nothing to be late to. And that's why the chosen ones, we think different. Like there's nothing to be late to. I'm in my own lane. Ain't no traffic. You feel me? Workplace culture, feeling like you don't fit in, you the odd one out. Like I remember when I worked in office, I would go in like I'm not even in a bad mood, but I don't want to say good morning to everybody that I walk by. Like I'm getting to my desk, I'm getting my day started, and that's just kind of what it was. And I speak to you if I need to, but I don't need to be like, hey, hey, hey. No, I don't have the energy for that. I'm here to do a job and get out and get to my real life. And that's the thing. Like you're crushing your creativity. You really are. But you're gonna do the thing. You're gonna go a place. It starts today. You're gonna work on that thing. Okay? Listen, for real, for real. And then you might compare yourself to others. Now, this is something that I personally didn't struggle with my part of imposter syndrome. But you can be comparing yourself to others, especially like on social media. Everybody's in a different journey. You don't know what people are doing. That is a very important thing. And I personally have never gotten caught up with comparing myself to others because I've always felt like I was different and I was special. I just didn't know how to manifest that into my reality. And then I had to realize the reason why I was where I was because I needed to heal, not because nobody was going to come save me, not because I was going to get this magical dream job that was going to allow me the life that I wanted. Like that's not it. You have to walk in your passion because when you're walking in your passion, you're on a frequency. When you're walking in your purpose, you're on a frequency that is attracting all of the things you're on the currency. It's going to attract the opportunities. If you want to attract the love of your life, it's going to attract that too. But you got to work on you. Yeah, you do. So you gotta be okay with being wrong. Okay, you really do. Listen, I am okay with being wrong. It's a positive thing for me. It's just like while I'm in this waiting space, I'm gonna do the work on me. Like I'm gonna do that while I'm in that waiting space. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do it because that's the whole point of it. Like that's the whole point of the waiting season. Because if you're waiting, you ain't doing no work. Like what you might as well not be waiting. You might as well be popping your shit. Like what are you waiting for? You should. Like maybe you were trying to identify what was going on with you, and you really didn't even know how to put your finger on it. Listen, we didn't put a name to the thing. We didn't put a name to it. Listen, understanding the origin really helps us break free. Understanding why you do the thing, like why, you know, you got to understand why you do what you do. And once you understand that, everything will fall in line and don't have a choice because you're the main character. And you got to act like it, and you're not acting like it. So from here on out, that's going to change. For real, it really is. Um, so listen, I just want to pull it all back together and acknowledge kind of what we run down to, what we kind of talked about, so that you can take this away and maybe just start working on it. Listen, we're gonna pull it together. I'm the type of person I gotta write it down. I have to write it down because once it leaves my hands, it just feels like it's more real than me having it in my phone. I gotta write it down. Even printing it out, I have to write it down. So first of all, acknowledge it. The first step is recognizing when imposter syndrome has shown up. Give a name to it. Don't let it control you. So we acknowledge it. I got imposter syndrome. Period. Let's work on it. You have to reframe your thought process. You can't be like, I don't deserve this. You can replace that with I worked hard to be here and I earned it and I'm here. It's my turn. I'm up next. It's okay to say you up next because you are. Celebrate your small wins. Celebrate the small wins. Keep track of your achievements no matter how small they are. It doesn't matter. Celebrate it. Like, bring light to it. Let it be really authentic. Stop comparing yourself to others. We talked about that. We're going to stop doing that. If you do that, you stop it. Talk about it. Listen, you have to talk about it. Whereas you might be on a journey where your circle is tight, but you've got to have somebody, friends, family members that you can call up and let them know how you're feeling. It's important. Like, you really have to have that because if you don't, you'll only be bouncing ideas off of yourself, which for myself, I can do that for a really long time. It's not it's not impossible for me to come up with to find the problem and the solution within myself because I've healed enough to be able to do that. But I still need people to talk to, and I still have friends that I can call and chop it up, and you know, from there, practice self compassion. What I tell y'all earlier, treat yourself like you treat your close friend, like your best friend. How you treat her or him, treat yourself like that. Give yourself grace. Tell yourself all the things that you would tell a good friend because you give good advice. We know it. You're here on the Shay Speaks podcast. So we know it. You're one of those ones. So listen, I want you to take those things down. I want you to take all of those steps that I said down. It's 6 steps. Acknowledge it, reframe your thoughts, celebrate your small wins. Stop comparing yourself to others, talk about it, practice self compassion. 6 steps. What I want you to do, I want you to write them down. I want you to write those 6 things down so you can start working on those things. And it's okay to hear me speak on it, but we're working on it. We're putting action behind it. So write those 6 things down. Journal. Writing information to yourself like, baby, I'm capable. I belong here. This is for me. I'm doing the thing. I'm going to place. You know what I'm saying? We here. We are here. Okay? So listen, I want you to take one thing with you today. And I want you to know doubt kills more dreams than failure ever will. Trust your journey and remember, you've already earned your place. Listen, if you've made it this far, I want to say thank you for tuning in to Shay Speaks podcast. If you love this episode, don't forget to comment, like, subscribe so you never miss a drop. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with somebody who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay inspired, stay empowered, and keep on speaking your truth. Shay Speaks, signing out.